because that's a fucking big-ass position.
All right, we're live. Hold on, let me get the link out here. Tweet this sucker out. Link. How many lines are you playing this week?
I have 3 at the moment. So I have like my main one, the cash lineup that I always play a lot in, and then there's like 2 GPPs, one that I go a little bit heavier on, and then one kind of like a really crazy one. My main GPP is the Palmer one that I talked about.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we're live. Let's get people to roll in here. Once we get some people in here, we'll start going. I just tweeted out, so they should start rolling in.
Cool.
3. All right, let's do this. So we're gonna switch things up this week. Clutch and I were talking, and I think we're gonna go position by position instead of game by game. Little easier to follow, and it'll briefen up the process as well. Structure that is very easy to follow, and people can, if you're watching this and creating lines at the same time, it makes it a lot easier than switching from position to position, I guess. So let's get started. So quarterback, high price. What do you think of Tom Brady this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to love Tom Brady, especially in a matchup against the Jets. That's something that I definitely always want to, look into. Anytime, I guess, you can get Tom Brady under 10%, it's going to make me interested, at least in some format. I really do like Brady this week. There's really not much else to say. I mean, they should just come out here and smash this Jets team. He should really just pound the ball down their throats, and I think that you're going to get him under 10% owned. So, pairing him with a guy like Brandon Cooks is another guy that you're going to get really low owned, probably like 5% or less. So pairing him with him makes a ton of sense. I do think Chris Hogan's going to be a little bit more chalky. So if you wanted to play Brady and get cute, I think Cooks is probably the guy that I would look towards.
I like that pairing. I think the Patriots in general will be a little less chalky than we assumed.
Definitely.
At the beginning of this week, at least. When I first looked at this slate, I thought the 2 chalk quarterbacks were going to be Watson and Brady. I just don't see Brady being chalk at all because of his price tag. I think people are going to want to either pay up for Kareem Hunt or Antonio Brown. So Brady's a great way to leverage ownership. My favorite high-priced quarterback this week, I know I was talking to Clutch about it a lot, is Drew Brees. He's the home favorite in the Superdome, which we know he plays exponentially better at home than on the road. Adrian Peterson's gone, so that will get a lot more focus on passing in the running game, where Mark Ingram and Kamara will catch 5 passes each, which is more for Drew Brees. They're not going to be trying to pound between the tackles. And besides Darius Slay, Detroit still has a pretty suspect secondary. So I think Darius Slay could, negate Michael Thomas, but then he has Willie Snead back as well. You got Kobe Fleener, Brandon Coleman. I love Drew Brees. I think he's a little depressed on his price tag, and I think he'll actually be a little under-owned. So I love Drew Brees.
Yeah, I don't know about the whole under-owned argument. Really? I think he'll come in closer to like 12 to 15%. I don't know what you were expecting.
I was expecting 10, so that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I see him being probably the second chalkiest quarterback on the slate, obviously behind Deshaun Watson. I guess what concerns me about Drew Brees, and there's a lot to like about him too, but what does concern me is the fact that the Detroit defense has looked better this year. They have been, stopping a lot of really good quarterbacks. But what comes down to for Drew Brees is that he's at home, and this is a game that should just really bode for him well. It's a game script that's going to be high scoring. It's going to be a shootout. We get Stafford and Brees, 2 quarterbacks that really love to throw the ball, and the run game is, not as strong as other teams. So they are going to be throwing the ball quite a bit. So I think this game script does bode well for him, and it definitely could shoot out, as we've seen tons of games in New Orleans do before.
So then do you like Stafford on the other side of the ball?
Yeah, I do like Stafford quite a bit, and I think that one is going to come really, really low owned. I think you get him probably 5% owned, and you compare him with a guy like Golden Tate, who's going to go next to nothing owned. I mean, his price is high, so people aren't really going to look towards that. And, I mean, he's getting a New Orleans secondary that could just get eaten up. So Tate's a guy that I could see getting, 14 targets, 9 catches, and I don't think that's out of his range.
I completely agree. Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he's ever a bad play. He's matchup proof. But this is a tough matchup against Minnesota. I can see it being a little lower scoring than people may expect with a Packers game. So he's a good option. I will resort to GPPs for Aaron Rodgers. I think we all know who the chalk quarterback is going to be, and Clutch mentioned it. It's going to be Deshaun Watson. Personally, I've read a lot in the community. I've done my own research, and I don't like him in cash this week. The number one corner on Cleveland, what is his name? I'm blanking, but he has actually been locked down this year, which scares me a little bit because I'm playing DeAndre Hopkins. But I mean, aside from you look at the game script in the last couple of games for Watson, and last week they were behind 2 touchdowns.
Right.
For almost the majority of the second half. The game before they were playing catch up against was it the Chiefs last week or was it 2 weeks ago?
Chiefs was last week. They played Titans 2 weeks ago.
Titans. They were playing catch up the whole second half. This just isn't a game where that's going to be the game script. They're not going to play catch up against the Cleveland Browns. So I can definitely see them scaling him back. I think his legs do add a nice floor, but I mean, I understand the play. I personally think he'll be scaled back this week, so I'm off of him.
Yeah, and I mean, I totally see your point too, and we have to think that regression is coming. Like, he's thrown 9 touchdowns in the past 2 weeks. Like, that's hands down. That's the facts. But in lieu of that, his price has gone up. But we also have to look at how many times has he even thrown the ball. I mean, last week he only threw it 31 times. Week before it was 34. So it's not like he's a guy that's out here throwing the ball 50 times. Like you said, I think his rushing ability does add a nice floor because he definitely has that upside to get into the end zone once or twice with his legs. So, that's definitely something to look at. But they're playing at home against a Cleveland Browns team that just has minuscule offense. They're going to be starting Kevin Hogan. It's just like you said, they've been playing catch up. I feel like he's been getting a little bit lucky with the garbage time points, and I do see regression coming. It does scare me how high he's going to be owned in cash, definitely.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be, probably upwards of 30%, if not more, in cash games.
Yeah, I mean, the other stat I looked at, if you look at his games, like his completion percentage is 52%. Yeah. That's not good, like, at all. Like, that's bad. And that shows me that, like, there is some negative regression coming. Like, a quarterback that has 9 touchdowns in the last 2 games and a 52% completion percentage doesn't add up. So, it doesn't, yeah. I mean,
and the fact that he's thrown 9 touchdowns with 31 and 34 passing attempts in the last 2 games.
Yeah, there's only 2 receivers he's using too, and like I think that brings us to we can quick talk about the receivers on Houston because I see people on Will Fuller. I think that's just stupid.
Mm-hmm.
He had 2 touchdowns last game, he had 34 yards. Like, he's not. I mean,
I agree. I think that regression is certainly coming. I don't think he can keep up this pace of throwing all these touchdowns. I guess what scares me for Watson is the fact that he has that mobility factor, and if he does rush in once or twice, he's going to hit his value. Although his price has risen to a place where I don't really feel comfortable paying that much in cash games for him. And I still think he's a very volatile quarterback. Just because he's had 2 great weeks in a row doesn't change that for me.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Still a rookie.
And I think there's some value below him too. If you look down a little bit, I mean, I think Kirk Cousins is a great play at a similar price point.
Okay. I like that a lot.
Winston, I really, really like Carson Palmer for $800 less.
Yeah, I mean, Palmer might be one of my, he's definitely a top 3 quarterback for me on this slate, pressing close to number 1. I mean, that price is low for a guy that we know is going to throw the ball over 40 times. And like, while I see regression coming for Watson, I see progression coming for Palmer. I think that those touchdowns are going to come, and I think that we're right on the brink of having a 3 to 4 touchdown, 350-yard explosion from Carson Palmer. And I think that this is the week that it could happen. I mean, at home against the Bucs. I really like Palmer a lot, and I have him in my GPP.
His play really reminds me of our Week 4 Eli play, honestly.
It's like a quarterback that makes so much sense because he has so much volume, and the progression has to come.
And the price point is just perfect.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, I want to hear I know you like Kevin Hogan. That's as cheap as I'll go quarterback. So fill us in on Kevin Hogan a little bit.
Yeah, so I guess my thoughts on Kevin Hogan is that he's going to throw the ball a lot. I mean, he played very minusculely against the Jets last weekend and threw the ball 19 times, completed 16 passes. I mean, this is a Cleveland Browns team that just really doesn't have a running game. They line Duke Johnson up as if he's a wide receiver. Crowell has kind of looked like a skeleton of his former self this year so far. He has the volume there, but he's not producing by any means. So I just think that Hogan, it's not a play that I'm super in love with, that I think is super sexy, but I think that for 4,600 on DraftKings and 6,100 on FanDuel, I think you can get away with playing him, hoping that he puts 2 scores on the board, maybe throws and gets you those yards. I think that he definitely has the upside for like 25 FanDuel points, and that's just from the volume perspective.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, for that price point, you can fit anyone you want in that lineup. So I see no reason not to, maybe test it out in the tournament. Moving on to running backs, I know my lock. I don't know if he'll be chalky, but I think Kareem Hunt is an absolute lock this week. I think people see the Pittsburgh defense, and I think historically get scared off just because of how good they've been, but they are actually brutal against the running backs this year. They get absolutely carved up, and they have not been firing on offense this week, which makes me think Kansas City as a favorite could, jump out to a lead and give Hunt just a ton of volume. And he's got the most all-purpose yards in the NFL this year. I don't know. I just don't think his ownership will be that high. I think people will actually go to Fournette and Todd Gurley for sub 9K. One's 8.6, one's 8.4. But I think by far and away Kareem Hunt is the best play on the slate.
Yeah, no, I really like Kareem Hunt as well. And another reason why he might have depressed ownership is the fact that he's only 8,200 on DraftKings. So I think a lot of people make that comparison of prices, and they're going to be like, oh, he's really overpriced on FanDuel. But he's really not. I mean, like you said, this Pittsburgh defense I think is overrated. And I think that this game is getting completely overlooked from a DFS standpoint because I think it could shoot out on both sides. And Kareem Hunt's another. It's just he's a guy that he's gotten 50 rushing attempts in the last 2 games. So Andy Reid's finally giving him the volume that we feel like he deserves, and that's kind of scary for a guy that was doing this earlier in the year with 15, 17 carries. He was going absolutely AWOL. So the fact that he got 29 carries last week is something that I'm all over. And he gets a matchup at home against the Steelers. He gets to come home and get that many carries. So, I mean, this guy with this volume, the ceiling is endless for him.
Melvin in the chat made a point. He hasn't scored a touchdown in a couple weeks, too, so something's coming. I mean,
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, he's got some positive regression, if you can even imagine that. Looking down, I'm completely off of Le'Veon Bell. I just that Pittsburgh offense, you said it could be a shootout, but that offense just scares me, especially on the road.
I mean, I guess what I'll say about Bell is I think that you're going to also get him really under-owned just because there are, so many other options up there. And Ben just historically struggles on the road, really badly. So I feel like they're going to have to be forced to funnel, short passes to Bell. He got 10 targets last week against Jacksonville and caught all 10 of them. So, if he can do something similar to that, mix that with maybe 80 yards rushing and a touchdown, I really do like Bell this week. I don't think you necessarily need to go there in cash, but as a leverage play for the ownership, I really like that in tournaments.
Yeah, so do I. What are your thoughts on the Leonard Fournette versus Todd Gurley? Because the way I look at it, that's all this game is going to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think overall this game's going to be low scoring. It's going to be one of those ground and pound type games. I really do like both running backs a little bit. I lean Fournette over Gurley. I just think that the volume is there heavily for him, and it's just promise for Fournette. I think that he could see easily close to 30 touches, if not more. The Rams are a team that has struggled against the run. They've given up 134 yards per game on the ground. So yeah, I think that Fournette at home against the Rams, they're just going to really try to pound the ball. And what my hope is that Goff makes a few early mistakes maybe, and Jacksonville defense is able to capitalize on that, putting them in the lead, so they can just give Fournette, keep feeding him.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I don't like. What I'm looking at right now too is there's a lot of rain in the forecast for that game too, which will only strengthen Fournette and Gurley's floor just because they'll be relied on even more. And you mentioned the workload for Fournette is honestly, it's just guaranteed. Like, look at the last 2 games, 24 carries and 28 carries. Only 1 target last game, but before that he had no less than 3 targets any week. So he's still somewhat involved in the passing game too.
Yeah, definitely.
If we're looking at tournaments, I love Devonta Freeman this week. He has scored a touchdown every week. He's got 5 touchdowns, actually, 4 weeks. He had a bye. Still getting 18 to 21 carries a game. Great yard per carry this year. And he's actually still somewhat involved in the passing game, even with Tevin Coleman. And I see this being a blowout, and I don't think that Matt Ryan will need to sling the ball as much, so I can see Devonta Freeman having a nice workload today. I think he'll be under-owned as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, the Falcons at home against the Dolphins just screams that they're going to just blow them out. I actually have Falcons negative 11.5, and I put 2 units on that. So I feel very strongly about this game shooting out, or not shooting out, but, at least on the Atlanta side of the ball. And Coleman's a small back that probably isn't going to get as much work later in the game when they are up. It's just going to kind of be a ground and pound with Devontae. So, yeah, I think that upwards of 20 to 25 carries isn't out of the range for Freeman here. No, I really like that.
Yeah, I like it. Looking down a little bit, couple $100 down. We talked about Todd Gurley a bit. There are 2. The only other running back in the AK range is Melvin Gordon. I personally have honestly not looked at Melvin Gordon this week. I think there's so many options in that price point I'd rather pay for. Have you looked at Gordon at all?
Yeah, I haven't really done, too much digging into Gordon just because I was so, high on Fournette, high on Gurley, Hunt, and Bell, that I didn't really feel like it was necessary to go that route. And I guess let me just touch on Gurley real quick, is the fact that, I'm not the biggest fan of Gurley, and I think that but I do think that last week is going to depress his ownership quite a bit. And he's very heavily involved in this pass game. And this Jacksonville defense is set up, to stop the pass, and it's set up to kind of force teams to run the ball. So I think Gurley's going to get a lot of rushing attempts. I think that he might get a lot of little dump-offs in the backfield as well because he's so involved. And just from a pure volume play, I really do like Gurley this week. I think that this Jacksonville pass defense is the truth. Their run defense is second worst in the NFL. So it's just crazy weird how those splits work from run to pass for the Jaguars.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, I'm playing the Jaguars D, so I'm off Gurley this week, but I see the play, I see the volume, and the rain's only going to add to that. Below the 8K range, we've got right below the back priced below Gurley's Ty Montgomery. He is a total fade for me. He's playing, but it's supposed to be a 50-50 split with Aaron Jones. That is nothing I want any part of. What about you?
Yeah, no doubt. I don't want any part of that at all.
All right, so move down $200. What about C.J. Anderson?
Yeah, C.J. Anderson's definitely a guy that I like this week. Giants defense has just looked awful. Their run defense is not good. This is a game where I think that C.J. Anderson really can bounce back and maybe score 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think there's some touchdown regression coming for C.J. Anderson. He has, I want to say, 5 red zone carries. or 5 to 6 red zone carries this year already. He only has 1 rushing touchdown. So, or goal line carries, excuse me. So he is, I think he's due for some positive regression. He's gotten 20-plus carries in 3 or 4 games this year. Also showing some work in the passing game. I think coming into the year, people didn't really know what to do with Denver's backfield because of him, Devin Booker, and they had a third back. Can't remember his name.
Jamal Charles.
Yeah. Oh yeah. How can I blank on Jamal Charles? He's still heavily involved. He'll get 10 touches per game, but I think C.J. Anderson is still, carved his role out as the workhorse in Denver. And this is a game where, New York's implied for 13 points. They're going to run the ball. So
yeah, and Broncos are they're going to be up this whole game. I don't think that there's any way that
this game's going to be a really ugly game, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way that the Giants come in here with how depleted they are on offense and put up any sort of a fight.
Yeah, I don't see it. I think this will be a game where the Giants just work their rookies, honestly. So looking lower, for me personally, there are no backs in the 6K range I like at all. What about you?
Looking at it, I do like Marshawn Lynch a little bit at home. 6,000 is a pretty depleted price. You're going to get him really low owned. So yeah, I think that Marshawn Lynch could make an interesting GPP play.
Okay. I also look at it. I think Gillislee could make an interesting tournament play as well, just because of the game script. Hasn't scored a touchdown in 3 weeks, and this is a game where the Patriots are going to be ahead and they're going to ground and pound. If Gillislee gets the carries, he could really pay some nice dividends for his price tag.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, if they're able to get up towards that goal line, Gillislee's like the type of guy. I mean, we obviously saw in week 1 that can just pound it in 3 times. So.
Yeah, exactly. Looking below that, you get to 5'9", we have Mark Ingram, who I think will be extremely chalky this week. I love Mark Ingram. I mean, you should still temper your expectations, in my opinion. He's never going to be a 20-carry running back because of the Saints offense and the fact that Alvin Kamara is still there. But I can see 15 carries, like 80 yards, some receiving work and a touchdown. I do not put that out of the realm at all, and I think it's a great return for that price tag.
Yeah, no doubt. I see 10 to 15 carries. I see 5 to 7 catches, and definitely the upside to get into the end zone as well. I think this, like I said earlier, this game script is just going to be like back and forth, really pounding the offense. So really bodes well for Mark Ingram as well as Kamara.
Yeah, I like Kamara too. Another back I do not mind is Buck Allen for 5,800. 21 carries last week, which tied the most on the season for him with tied week 1. Chicago, I'm not going to say that the Ravens are going to blow out the Bears because the Ravens are bad. But Buck Allen is one of their best offensive weapons, so I think they're going to realize they need to give him the ball because Chicago struggles against the rush. I prefer Ingram and Kamara at that price tag, but if you want to differentiate, I don't mind Buck Allen at all.
Yeah, I definitely love Buck Allen from like a volume standpoint. Baltimore at home against Chicago. Like you said, I don't know if they necessarily blow them out, but it's not like Chicago's going to come in here and be up the entire game. So, it seems like Buck Allen's definitely going to get the usage that we need for him to hit value.
Yeah. All right, now a couple more backs on hand. What do you think about Elijah McGuire? Have you looked into him at all?
Yeah, sort of, but I think that for me, at least, the fact that like Duke Johnson, McKinnon, Ingram, and Kamara are all right there in that same exact price range, kind of just like points me in the direction that I don't need to go there. I can get Duke Johnson for $100 cheaper, who's basically a wide receiver who's gonna get a couple carries here and there. So I don't know. For me, it's probably too cute for me. I'll say.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like Duke Johnson against Houston. McKinnon is another back that's really interesting to me. He popped off last week, got more carries than Latavius Murray, played more snaps than Latavius Murray. And he honestly just looked way better than Latavius Murray.
Yeah.
I could see them using him a lot. They're going to need him with Sam Bradford and Stephon Diggs out. I think he'll be heavily involved in the passing game against a defense that's honestly very, very subpar.
Yeah, I think that for me, McKinnon is just a no-brainer in this point price point. I'm very interested to see who's going to be more chalky. Is it going to be Ingram or McKinnon? For me, it's just I'm going to go McKinnon over Ingram pretty much in every single format, just because of all those reasons you said. I mean, Sam Bradford, Stephon Diggs out, that's a huge part of this offense, and they're going to have to dump the ball off to McKinnon and hope that he's able to create something. And he's one of the players last game that just looked very explosive, against the Bears. So I really like McKinnon in this spot. I think his price is just way too low. And on DraftKings, where you're getting him for literally $4,100, like that's literally just like a free square. That's like a bingo free square. Like just play that, move on with the rest of your lineup.
Yeah, agreed. So that pretty much for me, that covers running backs. Right? Any other ones you want to hit on?
Yeah, I guess one more that I really like to hit on is Andre Ellington.
Oh, good call. I haven't gone CCP line for about him.
Yeah, I think that, Andre Ellington, hopefully what, has happened with this Arizona run game is going to scare a lot of people off. But, it's been stated that Andre Ellington's still a running back that's going to be heavily involved in the passing game. And, 10, 14, and 8 targets in the last 3 weeks. And he gets Tampa Bay this week at home. I think that Palmer looks his way quite a bit again. And I think, we could be in line for another 7 to 8 catch game, 70 yards just out the backfield through the passing game. And then, you add a couple rushing attempts in there. This is like, a Duke Johnson version 2 play for me.
Yeah, I like it. Now, one back we didn't cover, I just want to throw it out as kind of like a curiosity play. Adrian Peterson. I know he's only going to play – he's not playing third downs. But you got to think if they're on a goal line play, they'll give him the ball, right?
You would think so. I mean, they didn't bring him into this offense to not be involved. I think that he's going to be much more involved, on this team than the Saints, obviously. So, yeah, I guess it's a play that for me, being so risk adverse, I'll kind of lay off and see what happens this week. But I definitely see I don't know. I see the attraction towards it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But yeah, I don't really have any more running backs to cover. Looking at wide receivers, Antonio Brown, 9,200. He's an excellent play every week, in my opinion. But this week, the Chiefs are – I don't know what's going on with their defense this year because they have been letting up a lot of points and they've been scoring a lot of points. It's not like the Chiefs we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love Antonio Brown. I just can't fit him in cash. So what about you?
Yeah, I can't fit him in cash either, and I'm not too upset about that because I think his ownership is going to be relatively low again. I think just Chiefs, they're having to go to Kansas City, and the Chiefs are just like a household name that kind of scares people. But like you said, I love Antonio Brown this week. Like this guy got 19 targets last week. That's the volume is just through the roof for this guy, and I think this is a matchup that really could blow out. Like I think that this game could shoot out, intensely, and if it does shoot out, you have to think that on the Pittsburgh side of the ball, Antonio Brown's going to be heavily involved over there. So always love Antonio Brown and definitely like him this week quite a bit for GPPs.
Yeah, I completely agree. And he only has 1 touchdown this year too, and I think there's some positive regret. If you're having 19 targets in a game, you are going to score eventually.
Oh yeah, and this is a guy that I don't think any of us were on last week against Jacksonville, and he was able to put up 157 yards against them. So, Jacksonville being one of the best passing defenses in the league, it definitely has me really interested on Antonio Brown. I guess the only thing that would scare me is the fact that Ben Roethlisberger has just historically been awful on the road.
Yeah, so. Agreed. Looking down, I'm off of Michael Thomas for 8,500 against Darius Slay. I don't know about you.
Yeah, man, I think that this Detroit defense is the real deal, and I'll take a pass on that one as well.
Now, Julio Jones for 84 though. That looks like a very, very interesting play. Miami has been much more effective than people may think. But, Julio Jones has not scored a touchdown this year. Coming off a game where he only had 4 targets. I mean, his hip injury does worry me a little bit, but he was completely left off the injury report. So that makes me think that the Falcons team is healthy enough for a full workload. I can see him absolutely torching Miami, and Mohamed Sanu is out, which there's 4 to 7 more targets for Julio.
Yeah, man, I really love it. I mean, Julio at home. Yeah, this is just a big smash spot for him. I believe I read somewhere that his over-under for the his yards is like 102 or something ridiculous like that. So if Vegas if they're going to set it that high, you'd have to think that he's going to just get so much volume and that he's ready to go. So I love Julio this week. I think he's an excellent pivot off of DeAndre Chalkins or whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
So I think he's a good pivot off of that. And, you'll get him at a bit lower owned. Maybe not, tremendously, but definitely lower owned.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Obviously, you mentioned Hopkins, and he's kind of the next name I wanted to hit. Over under 65% ownership in cash.
I mean, if you're talking 50-50s, you're going to be right around that. So I would maybe take the under just because maybe it's like 60, but it's going to be above 50%.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's a dangerous fade, not just because of the ownership, but because of the upside he now has. I mean, he's back to being an elite wide receiver one. He has a 40% target or 30-something% target share, which is just insane. He's the only target that Deshaun Watson looks to in the red zone as well. So, if they're getting within the 20-yard line, the chances you get a DeAndre Hopkins touchdown are pretty damn high. I went to sleep last week and I was 10 out of cash. I wake up and he has 3 touchdowns and I'm cashing comfortably. It was insane.
Yeah, and that's what honestly screwed me last week. I went to bed in the cash, woke up out the cash because of DeAndre Hopkins. So I guess it worked both ways. So I guess this week, I'm just going to kind of plug him in. And I think Hopkins is a guy that you can definitely play naked because, like you said, Watson, you're going to get pretty much all of Watson with Hopkins. So I don't think that you necessarily need to pair Watson with Hopkins at all. But, yeah, I mean, 24 targets the last 2 games, 4 touchdowns the last 2 games. Very hard fade at home against the Browns for still only $8K at a depressed price point.
That's the catch for me is this man is still only $8K. He's priced below Michael. He's 600 below Michael Thomas. He's more than Chris Hogan. This man is an elite. Aside from last year, he was in the conversation with Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham as the top wide receiver in the league. He's priced $1,200 less than the top wide receiver. I think this is a no-brainer playing cash, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean I think that touchdown regression is coming, but he's the number 1 wide receiver in all fantasy formats right now, and the volume is just through the roof right now. So, yeah, no-brainer in cash. Kind of just have to play him.
Yeah, I agree. Now, looking down, this is kind of the awkward range right here for wide receivers. I feel like people will, play a higher price one and dip down to the 6K range. But the 7K range actually has some options I really like. You mentioned Brandon Cooks. You like him. I really like Golden Tate this week.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, the last thing I saw, I want to say his last 3 against the Saints, the lines were 580 and 2, 60, and then 7, 102 and 1. I mean, something nuts like that. He destroys New Orleans, and they're in the Superdome, which will only help offenses. I also personally, I love Chris Hogan this week. I think I'm not chasing touchdowns. I'm chasing the volume. He is the most targeted receiver in New England, and I don't think any of us saw that coming. Even into the season with Edelman's injury, I think we all thought Brandon Cooks was going to be, by far and away the most targeted. He's 3rd in targets on the team right now.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, Hogan is creeping up to be the exact price as Cooks is very scary. I mean, no, I don't think that any of us really thought that at all. I think this is he started the season at around 6K, if not lower, if I'm not mistaken. I definitely recall 1 week of him being $6,100, and, now we're looking at 7.5. I love the play. I do. I just think that he'll be a little bit higher owned than what I would want from a wide receiver with him. But definitely get the play. I mean, Jets defense A lot of targets, 20 targets in the last 2 weeks, 5 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. So really like all that.
Yeah, I like that too. Who else do you like in that 7K range?
So I think we have to, at least look at Keenan Allen, definitely, against an Oakland secondary that has just been proven time and time again that they just are not very good. It looks like Derek Carr is going to play this week, so we can hope that this game stays at least a little bit competitive, if not pretty competitive overall. But yeah, Keenan Allen has been getting a ton of targets, and I think that he's been going a little bit underlooked, to be honest. I mean, we look at his first 5 games, he has 10 targets, 10, 9, 11, and 12. So yeah, maybe the efficiency hasn't been there, and he hasn't really showed up on the touchdown side of the board. But yeah, I think that Keenan Allen's a guy that, positive regression is coming for him. Definitely really like him against Oakland a lot.
Yeah, I like him a lot too. Other than that, I'm not really on Devontae Adams or Michael Crabtree this week. Those are the 2 below him. Looking in the 6K range, there are a ton of options I like in this range this week.
There's loads, man. There's loads.
Yeah, loaded area of the wide receivers. I guess we'll start at the top. Sure, I don't mind Terrell Pryor this week. I really don't mind Terrell Pryor this week. I know his chemistry with Kirk Cousins has been off. I know his drops have been pretty bad. He popped off for a touchdown last week. My biggest draw to Pryor is the fact that they're coming off a bye week. You think the whole week all they worked on between him and Cousins was that chemistry. And now they draw a very, very weak secondary. Rob Kelly's out, so they might not run as much as they would if he were healthy. And I think that 44-yard touchdown last week definitely helped his case with Kirk Cousins and that chemistry. For 6,800, I think his upside is there in a tournament.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is definitely, breakout potential game for Terrell Pryor. I love that play. And I think that, being there's so many options down in this range, you're going to get him next to nothing owned. So yeah, definitely love that play. You can even get him for really low owned in the 1 p.m. only slate, looking at the receivers there too. So love it. I guess the next guy that's kind of the same price, actually the exact same price point, and we get that revenge game narrative kind of just going on the other side of the ball is Pierre Garçon. This guy, I mean, talk about positive regression coming for somebody. This is the guy that it's coming to. I mean, first of all, I don't think that, from what I see at least, Josh Norman's not going to be playing. So he's not going to be, a worry for Pierre Garçon at all. Pierre Garçon's a target machine. I think that they're going to be having to force the ball to him. Like he's a playmaker, and he knows this Washington team. He knows this stadium. I definitely am high on the revenge game narrative. I think that he comes into Washington, he could get, upwards of 12 to 15 targets, 9 catches, and a score. So yeah, I definitely don't think that 100 yards and a score is out of the range for Pierre Garçon, and I like him in all formats, including cash.
Yeah, no, I think he's a play. When we talk about target shares, he's a great cash game play, like almost any week, just because of the volume of the target share he gets in that offense. I mean, who's the number 2 wide receiver on San Francisco? Can you even name him?
Yeah, I think it's Marquise Goodwin, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Marquise Goodwin, like that proves that, like,
and George Kittle.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are not good. Like, he's the guy there. So I mean, definitely a great play. Looking in that 6K range again, I really like. And I think he's another target machine, and Tampa Bay's secondary has been so decimated with injuries, and we talked about that positive regression coming for, and I think that that goes hand in hand and correlates with Larry Fitzgerald as well. Like his floor, in my opinion, is like 6 catches for like 80 yards. That's a bad game for Larry Fitzgerald, and that's still 11 points right there. So I love Larry Fitz. Yeah,
no doubt. I love pairing him with Carson Palmer pretty much almost any week, especially this week in general.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's see.
That 6,500 range is looking nice.
Yeah, I guess another guy, we'll talk on the other side of the ball, like Deshaun Jackson. Love this play. I think that the ball is going to have to be forced to him again. I think this is a big-time Deshaun Jackson week. We've been seeing a lot of weeks where it's, Mike Evans has been having to be shadowed by, someone that's just like tremendous. And Deshaun Jackson is just, he's like, hey, I'm right here. I might be a wide receiver 2 on the team, but I can still make big plays. So, I love Deshaun Jackson in this spot, and I really think that you can do a game stack here and maybe play like Palmer and Ellington or Palmer and Fitz or even all three and then bring it back with Deshaun Jackson. And I really love that.
I like that a lot. Actually, now you mentioned, I love that. For $100 more than Deshaun Jackson, I'm infatuated with Jarvis Landry this week. Devontae Parker's out, and Landry's already a target hog. But now you get 10 more targets that are going to come, that possibly come his way. Because I personally don't trust Kenny Stills at all, and neither does Jay Cutler. I think Jarvis Landry's going to rack up 15 targets. It's a very soft secondary this week, and they're going to be playing catch up the whole game. I see no reason for that price point why you don't play Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, man. He's a target hog, gonna have to get the targets. Atlanta's secondary is definitely sus. I guess playing Jarvis Landry, we can hope that this game kind of shoots out a little bit, maybe a little bit higher than expected, and that Jarvis Landry can actually turn some of these targets into like scores and whatnot, and that Jay Cutler's actually throwing him the ball in the end zone rather than it just be like a little 10-yard grab. But I love Jarvis Landry this week. The issue with him, I guess, has always been, is he going to be able to get me the yards and the touchdowns to hit his value? Because we know the targets are there. We know that. With Devontae Parker out, he makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, no, agreed. And for the same price, I think a player in a similar position, honestly, is Adam Thielen. Stephon Diggs is out. See, this is a tough area because I want to play Hopkins. So I wish there were 4 wide receiver spots so I could play Hopkins, Landry, Thielen, and Deshaun Jackson. Mm-hmm. Because the 3 of Deshaun Jackson, Jarvis Landry, and Adam Thielen is such a nice cash floor with tremendous upside. I think Thielen is a lock for 100 yards this week. Bold call, lock for 100 yards. Green Bay secondary is really, really soft in the slot. I think Morgan Burnett's going to be on Kyle Rudolph, so that'll leave Demarius Randall on Thielen. And he's got upside, but he's so young and he bites a lot. So Thielen being a smart receiver, he will take advantage, and I think he'll have a field day against the Green Bay secondary in a game where they might have to play catch up as well.
Yeah, definitely like Thielen a lot. Targets are there.
Do you like anyone below that 6'4"? What about Amendola for 6'1"?
Interesting, but you we've just talked about so many guys right there in that range that I don't think you need to go there. But yeah, there's definitely some guys down here. Let me keep scrolling down, seeing what we got. I mean, Ricardo Lewis is a guy that's 4,500. I think he's going to be a pretty not interesting punt, but I think he's going to be a what's the word for it? Popular punt is what I was looking for. 8 targets and 9 targets in the last 2 games. It's just like hoping that Hogan's going to look his way and he can get the 5-6 catches for 60, 70 yards type thing. Not in love with the play, but, definitely for 4,500, an interesting punt. Let's see. There's definitely another one. I guess my criminal ownership, one of them plays against this terrible Chicago secondary is going to be Mike Wallace, who's made some big plays the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you mix big plays in with touchdown upside against this Chicago secondary in Baltimore. I'm really liking that play a lot. I think he's going to go extremely underlooked once again, even though that he's had 2 big weeks in a row. Definitely could see him getting in the end zone.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I love that. I'm looking down to one player I really don't mind for. He's never more than a deep tournament play is Ted Ginn. Just a spot where I think with Darius Slam, Michael Thomas, and Willie C not back up to speed, I think Ted Ginn could pop off for a touchdown or 2 against these Lions. But other than that, I'm not this is not a week where I'm completely punting a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Last week we had Jerome Brown. There's not really that play for me this week.
Yeah, definitely. I see, the chat kind of popping off about Jamison Crowder as well. I think that makes an interesting play. Just, against San Francisco being so bad, they're 0-5. somebody's going to have to go off on Washington, and their run game's a little beat up. So, if we think that Kirk's going to really air the ball out quite a bit, then Crowder could definitely be an interesting GPP play.
Yeah, I like that. And I know Jay Gruden said they're going to try and get Crowder more work too. So that's always a plus when your coach comes out and say that.
Right.
Looking at tight ends, I think we are in the same boat just about every week. We never really pay up for tight end.
Mm-hmm.
If you want, obviously, my number one this week is Travis Kelce over Gronk. I just don't have any interest in paying up for them. And I think that really, really hinders your lineup construction when you do. My favorite target in the tight end range, I'm just not even going to go by price, just general position, is Evan Ingram. I know Denver's a tough defense. They're actually I believe they're 21st in the league against tight ends, so there's some wiggle room there. But at this point, who else is going to catch the ball when it's thrown in New York? Like Sterling Shepard's out, Brandon Marshall's out, Odell Beckham's out. You talked about what's his name? Was it Ricardo Lewis?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be locked up by Aqib Talib, but like, who's going to catch a ball in New York?
Yeah. And I think you're thinking of Roger Lewis.
Roger Lewis, excuse me. Yeah,
but, yeah, definitely. I love Evan Ingram this week. Denver's a defense that, they look great on paper, but they do struggle against tight end. And, I mean, he's just going to have to get the ball thrown to him. Like, he's just going to have to, make plays this week. So,
and he has the ability to make plays, too. He's super athletic.
Definitely. And then one thing I saw in the chat that I just kind of wanted to backtrack real quick on the Mike Wallace play. People are saying that Maclin is out, which is obviously, a big boost to Mike Wallace and his potential production. So,
yeah, that's it. Actually, like that, in my opinion, that makes, if you really want to punt a wide receiver, that makes Mike Wallace cash viable, in my opinion.
I think so. I mean, I guess what's always been a concern with him is the volume, but if Maclin's going to be out, the ball's going to have to go somewhere, just kind of like this Evan Ingram situation.
Exactly. Other tight ends, I mean, I like Kyle Rudolph a lot. I know you do too.
Yeah. I mean, Thielen's a guy that I'm on. I like Thielen quite a bit, but there's just so many other guys in that range. I don't see myself realistically getting much exposure. So Rudolph is a guy that I guess, could get me that exposure, to this Vikings offense. Hoping that he gets that red zone target again. He's able to get for a score. 9 targets last week is definitely something that I like to see. Love seeing him really involved in the passing game. I like Kyle Rudolph a lot. For years now. Last year I played him quite a bit. I'd love to see him become like a DFS viable option again. Yeah, and I think he's well on his way.
Yeah, who do you think the chalk tight end will be? I'm looking at ASJ and I'm feeling he'll be the the chalky tight end.
Yeah, I think so. Since coming into New York, he's gotten 18 targets in 3 weeks. Was able to get his first score last weekend, which was definitely cool. Considering I played him, and I think it was like a late score. I want to say it was like a third quarter score. Because I know that we were sweating, the first half, and we're like, what the hell? Where's ASJ? What's going on? Still was able to manage 6 catches, 6 catches for 29 yards. So it sounds more like a damn running back with his rushing attempts almost. But definitely, I think the volume is there for him. I don't think that that's going to go anywhere. So definitely a chalk viable play. But like you said, I think there's other options with Rudolph and Ingram. Kittle is another guy that I've been looking at. 9 targets last week for 7 catches and a touchdown. This was all kind of late in the game as well, if I'm not mistaken. Washington is very, very suspect against the tight end. They have been all year. So we can hope that, Kittle is able to get into the end zone again type deal. Really like that a lot. I think more of like a DraftKings play for me just because of him sharing that price point with Rudolph and Ingram. But yeah, I guess. I know you wanted to talk about Zach Miller a little bit.
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on Zach Miller. Before I forget, I want to touch on Hunter Henry too. I think he's an interesting play. I think now that Antonio Gates has the touchdown record, they're really going to rein him back because of his age and the volatility with injury and stuff. Hunter Henry over the last 2 weeks, 2 touchdowns, 11 targets, and 8 targets last week. Only 3 catches because Phillip Rivers was pretty erratic. but I think he'll start to carve out a nice role in that offense. There's just so many mouths to feed in that offense where it's a little risky for cash this week.
Although it's a little risky, I like it quite a bit. He's gotten a touchdown in each of the last 2 weeks, and we can definitely expect that LAC is going to be able to put up touchdowns.
Yeah.
So Hunter Henry's been a guy that they've looked to in the red zone the past 2 weeks. So I definitely like that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, tell me about Zach Miller. I know I was looking at him earlier. I just don't really know what to do with him.
Yeah. So I guess Baltimore, being the defense that they are, they also struggle against the tight end. I'll continue to bring it up probably all season, is the fact that Mercedes Lewis was able to score 3 touchdowns on them in that London game. So it's definitely a position that they're susceptible to. And Zach Miller is, let's be honest, he's probably the top wide receiver option on this Bears offense. If not, he's right there close to it. So he's a guy that they're going to have to look to if they're going to pass the ball. And, if he's able to get into the end zone, he was able to get his first score last week, which was definitely nice to see. So if he's able to get into the end zone, I definitely think he could pay off his price with ease.
Yeah. I definitely see it. I also don't think he'll carry high ownership whatsoever because he's on that Chicago offense off of it. I'm interested in is Ron Griffin, Texans. Deshaun Watson hasn't looked his way as much as you think a rookie quarterback would with a tight end. He's been absolutely airing it out and force feeding DeAndre Hopkins. But Cleveland sucks against the tight ends. Like, they are brutal against tight ends. So I don't know. I think for minimum price, it's not the worst punt in the world.
Yeah, and I think just the fact that Cleveland is so bad against tight end, he's going to be a pretty popular option. I feel like a lot of these sites like Roto Grinders and all these other free sites, I haven't really gotten to look into them as much as I like to, just to kind of see where ownership's going to be. But I feel like if there was a guy that they'd be touting at this price range, it'd probably be him, just because of the historically bad play from Cleveland. But also just real quick to touch on Zach Miller real quick. I love him at that 5K price range, but I think that he makes a lot more sense on a site like DraftKings. His price over there is actually only $2,900. So you're even able to flex him there and play another tight end and pay up just a little bit more, and just have all that money to get your Fournettes and your Hunts and your Hopkins and all that. So $2,900 over there makes so much sense to me. Definitely cash viable. I just think on FanDuel there's a lot of other options that you can just pay a couple $100 more for.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Now looking on to I just kind of update. Looks like Michael Floyd will slot in the starting role for Stephon Diggs this week. I don't think that changes anything for the Vikings offense, in my opinion. I don't like Michael Floyd, but what about you?
Yeah, I don't think that I'll be going there.
Yeah, okay, I agree. So now, okay, I don't have anything. Anyways, kicker, top kicker this week. My routine with kickers. There's a list I have, a top 3 priority list. Priority number 1, are they kicking a dome? Priority number 2, are they the home team? Priority number 3 is the over under the game. Or actually switch 2 and 3. Over under the game is 2, home team is 3. I'm playing Matt Prater this week. He's the away team, so he misses one of the 3 points, but the over under is 49 or 50, and they're playing in the Superdome. And he's just got an absolute cannon of a leg. And, this dude slams Bruce. So why don't you roster him in some DFS? That's my argument for Matt Prater.
Yeah, Matt Prater's the man. I've got him in my 1 p.m. Just being 5K, I don't think that I'll be able to fit him, unfortunately.
Yeah.
For my main, but I guess there's a lot of decent options. I mean, kickers obviously the most vital position. Harrison Butker is the kicker for the Chiefs. He's been excellent so far. Has gotten a lot of opportunity. So, if we expect this Kansas City-Pittsburgh game to shoot out as much as we think that it's going to, then he makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah, I like it. One other kicker that unfortunately we can't choose Young Hoku anymore. I know you're pretty heartbroken over that roster
Yeah,
move.
he was a top draft pick for me coming into the season due to his name. So
Yeah, strictly his name. The other kicker I like is where do you go? Is Will Lutz. All three on my list for kicker. You know, you got home team, dome, and high over under. He's been killing it this year for New Orleans. I think he's another good. If you don't want to go Booker, he's a great play. Nick Novak at mid price, but again, kickers you don't need to spend a lot of time on. I literally just throw in who fits.
exactly, and I guess to talk about a guy, my favorite at 4,500 is going to be Robbie Gould. I think this Washington game could really shoot out. My favorite at 4,600, who I currently have, is Kai Forbath for the Vikings. My hope with that is that, this Green Bay defense is sus. Hopefully, Case Keenum can move the ball enough to get them into field goal range. But hopefully, Case Keenum isn't as clutch as he's not clutch. So hopefully, he's not able to throw touchdowns, and these field goals just kind of fall. But like you said, it's such a position that you just kind of throw in who fits, and you look at the over-unders for your price point of what you can afford, and you just go from there.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Looking at defenses now, for most of the league, I was on Denver, but 5,400 is a lot for a defense.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on the Broncos?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Broncos. I think they have an extremely high floor this week. I definitely don't see them falling under like 5 FanDuel points or anything like that. I feel like they haven't really made as many, I guess, plays as they have in the past. But this is a Giants team that their offensive line is awful. They have no running game. Their passing game just all got hurt. It seems like the plague just came through and ripped apart the Giants' soul. So, I guess the hope with the Broncos is that they're able to put up like 4 or 5 sacks, hold Eli Manning, which I know they will, which is why their floor is so high. I think you told me that their implied total
13
points are like 13. So, yeah. If Vegas is only expecting them to score 1 touchdown and a couple field goals, I think that Broncos make a lot of sense. I mean, Giants coming into Denver 0-5. Broncos make a lot of sense to me, but definitely a high price point.
Yeah, I agree. My favorite at 9 range. There are 3 defenses I love. I love both defense in the Rams-Jacksonville game. I think both offenses can just tend to be a mess besides their running backs. Goff has been like really consistent and efficient this year, so I'm a little hesitant with Jacksonville, but their defense is just so good.
So
like Jalen Ramsey's playing. Their secondary is unbelievable. Like, I mean, they have 4 or 5. I think they have 5 defensive touchdowns this year.
They have 5 fumble recoveries. They have an interception in every single game, including 5 last week against Ben Roethlisberger.
And they have a game. They had 10 sacks in week 1. 10.
That's absurd.
Like, dude, this team is good. They've allowed. I mean, they're 3 out of 5 games they've allowed less than 10 points. And those offenses were Houston, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. So not good offenses, but not by no means the worst. Look at what Houston's doing this year. Baltimore's mediocre, and then Pittsburgh. I mean, they allowed 23 to the Jets and still got 15 fantasy points. They had a shootout with Tennessee in week 2, which was a wash. But I love Jacksonville's defense is the truth, dude.
Yeah, no doubt. Anyone who doesn't agree with that by now is just plain wrong. This team they can just make plays. Their upside on defense is so damn high that they pretty much make a cash game or GPP playable in every single format every week. And for 4,900, like you said, these offenses maybe aren't the best, but it's not like the Rams are much better. I mean, Jared Goff has looked good. Yeah, I'm not going to deny that, but it's not like they're playing the Patriots. It's not something that I'm going to get totally scared off of. I mean, they're still coming into Jacksonville, and Jared Goff's going to have to sling the ball. Todd Gurley's coming off of this week where he just wasn't able to get anything going. I mean, if the Jaguars are able to stop Gurley and force Goff to throw the ball, I think just Goff, with the lack of weapons he has and the lack of experience, I think that Jacksonville's just going to eat this team up.
No, I completely agree. Who do you like? So I haven't really honestly looked past that 4-9 range. Who do you like below there?
So the Cardinals is a team that I've definitely looked at quite a bit for just 4,200.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just really cheap. You hope that they can, make some plays, get a couple sacks on Jameis. But yeah, I guess it's really just the cheap price point there and how historically well they've done against Tampa Bay in the past. I want to say that the last time they played, it was like a 42-7 type Cardinals win. It was pretty ugly from what I remember, at least.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
So yeah, I think
that's a team where, a defense with Tyrann Mathieu and Patrick Peterson for 4,200. I mean, that's a worthy flyer every week. So we just got a question to break this up a little bit. We just got a question on Twitter. Should I start Jordan Reed, Cameron Brate, or Evan Ingram? And is my number 2 tight end from this group worth a flex start over Tevin Coleman? So Reed, Brate, or Ingram. I think Reed is a must start of those 3 just because of the upside. So we're
looking at pretty much Ingram versus Coleman is what we're looking at, I would think.
I like Ingram over Brate, but I think Ingram over Coleman. Start Reed at tight end. Would you go Ingram over Coleman, do you think? I don't think I would.
I think that I don't know. In PPR, no. In standard, probably, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to write that. That's a good point.
Because if it's PPR, Tevin Coleman is, the back that we look for in PPR. We look at the Kamaras, we look at the Ellingtons, the Colemans, the Duke Johnsons.
Agreed. All right, so do you want to head over now? So we just went position by position. Do you want to head over to – we can head over to FanDuel and DraftKings and create some lineups quick?
Yeah, let's do it real quick.
All right, let me pull up. Let's see here. I got FanDuel on here somewhere. Upcoming. I'm going to pull up this before I screen share just so I don't show my lines.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. All right. So I'll head over to FanDuel quick. Now, do you want to make cash and GPP? Do you want to make just cash?
Let's just do a cash this week.
All right, I like it.
Do a cash on each site.
Let's present to everyone. All right. So this is what we're working with. Here we go. So quarterback, we know who the chalk is going to be. Do we want to go Watson?
I'm not personally, but
I'm not either. Actually, no. Since both of us aren't starting Watson, let's fade him in this.
Okay, that's cool.
So
we talked about Palmer quite a bit. I think he's a good pivot.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That gives us a lot to spend at other positions too. I'm fine with Palmer. Are we locking in Kareem Hunt?
Yeah, I think we were both really high on Kareem Hunt, and with the volume he's been getting.
Hold on. Let's lock in Jacksonville.
Okay, I like that.
And then kicker, who do you want to do? Let's knock these out.
I mean, you said Prater. He's slamming bruise, so.
Yeah, slamming bruise. Here we go.
We got to get him.
So we got 67.40 for.
You think he's slamming bruise right now?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Some Busch Light.
He was probably having some natty lights and a Four Loko.
With the Miami offensive line coach?
Yeah, really. Jesus. That's ridiculous.
That was ridiculous.
That was wild. Like, dude had the fattest line below.
He did like 3 real quick.
Like, that's why they're Jesus Christ. That's why
sent out a video to a hooker. Like,
yeah.
Come on, bro. Come on. That's just like a.
What are you asking to get?
Yeah, like it's one thing for you to do it. It's another thing for you to take a video, and it's just way over the line to send that video to somebody like that.
Yeah, completely agreed.
And he's just like, yeah, I want to. Didn't he say like I want to do it off your ass or something? Like I don't even.
Something like that, like something just OC. Like, dude,
Yeah,
chill out.
he just had to like he was like, all right, I'm done. Like I can't come back from that.
I think he kind of just gave up on his job there, honestly.
Yeah, that was
All right.
bad.
Do we want to go RB2? Where do we want to head from here? Do we
Well,
lock in
I think we
DeAndre
can lock in
Hopkins?
Engram and Hopkins.
Okay.
Kind of see where we're at with this. This is kind of looking really similar to my line, honestly.
This is nice.
Yeah.
Do we go Larry Fitz?
Yeah, we could definitely pair him. I like that. Fitz, and then
Who can we get? So who's in that range? You could go CJ Anderson or wait, if we go Gurley, 54. Damn, that's tough. We can't really pay up because if we don't want to punt a wide receiver. But who would you want as your wide receiver? Like, say, I know you like D-Jax. Let's just see.
yeah, love Djax, love Pierre, love
D-Jax.
Landry.
You could go D-Jax and CJ Anderson and still have 400 left over.
Yeah, and that would allow us to hop up off Djax to Pierre or Terrell Pryor.
Who do you like more for cash?
I love Pierre this week. Pierre's honestly fighting for my favorite wide receiver spot over Hopkins.
I love that lineup.
Yeah, I like that quite a bit, honestly. That looks amazing. That might outscore my cash lineup.
No, I'm like, wow, I think I might play this lineup. All right, so that's a
I'm having some second thoughts, man, because I am currently sitting with Kevin Hogan in cash.
Yeah, I don't think I can get on board with that, in all honesty.
Yeah, it's a little risky, no doubt.
I'm sitting with Drew Brees in cash. I think my line is fine. I think I'll stick with it. Thielen's the one somewhat question mark, but I think his floor is just pretty high this week. So I just how chalky do you think Adam Thielen will be?
I don't think he'll be that chalky. I think maybe 15, 20%.
Okay.
Not ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, so let's you want to head over to DraftKings?
Yeah, let's do that. I'm actually doing some
where do I
see, and we talked about man, I think that for me personally, I'm coming off of Hogan right now. It's just I've got this weird feeling sitting in my stomach.
I hate you. Then you need to get off because I hate that.
What are you doing playing this guy right now? Come on now.
I'm really tempted to go Palmer and cash.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm kind of pivoting to.
Like, damn. I'm looking at it right now and really liking the possibilities here. I might go.
Oh, I'm 100 away from getting that Jags D, though. Come on. Okay. What am I doing? What is going on?
What's your thought process on a naked Palmer this week?
That's literally what I'm working with right now.
Because I have the same line we just made, but Landry over Fitz. No, I'm sticking. Drew Brees has been my dude all week. I can't get off him. I'll be so mad at myself if I do. All right, I'm gonna head over to DraftKings.
I'm so torn right now, to be honest with you.
What you should do is play a Hogan line, but just don't make it the line you're betting the heaviest on, honestly.
Well, it wasn't even that I was so high on Hogan to begin with. It was just that I really wanted to fit Fournette and Hunt in the same lineup.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm so big on, and it's hard to fit Palmer into that equation.
I just think there's a lot of value at the running back position this week.
See, if I go Palmer, though, it's going to force me to go off my dude Garcon. I don't know, man. I mean, I could go down to a Jarvis Landry type play.
Jarvis Landry, D-Jax?
I've got D-Jax, no doubt.
Okay. Thielen's there.
What do you think about playing
Fitz?
What do you think about playing Ryan Griffin and DeAndre Hopkins?
I was looking at that earlier. That's what I had earlier, and I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. I get it and I see it, but I just don't. It doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah. And fading Kareem Hunt sounds like an awful idea.
That's one thing I'm not doing.
I don't think I want to do that.
Let's get over. I'm heading to DraftKings right now.
Oh, man. I'm so torn.
No, we don't want Sunday to
Because I
Monday.
want Jags so bad, but like I could always just go down to Cardinals. D.
All right, so for DraftKings, should we just do it? Should we do a Sunday Monday slate so we can have that Denver game or no?
No.
Okay, let's just do the main slate then. I don't. Why did they take off the? That's so dumb.
Yeah, it's because they wanted to make the tournaments bigger and all in all make more money.
The DraftKings is slipping up a little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've always been Team FanDuel over DraftKings if I had to choose.
All right, let me. I'm gonna share my screen again.
Dude, who do you think? Do you think Landry or Thielen? Like which one?
Landry. I have both in my lineup of Landry. Okay, so who did we say? Who was it that was 2,900 on DraftKings? Was it Ingram?
No, it was Zach Miller. He's super cheap.
That's who it was.
Zach
so
Miller
let's just go ahead and lock Zach Miller into the tight end spot.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Quarterback. Deshaun Watson's a nice price point over here. I will admit that. Carson Palmer's an even nicer price point. So what do you want to do for quarterback on DK?
Hogan.
Kevin Hogan for 40.
Hogan is definitely where I'm going on DraftKings, and I'm not thinking twice about it over there. It's on FanDuel.
Honestly, let's do it.
Thinking about.
Let's do Kevin Hogan.
So cheap. That's so cheap.
That's dirt cheap. All right, let's get defense figured out.
I think running back. Let's lock in McKinnon. I think he's 4,100. Like that's the free square.
That's what I was thinking of.
Like that's a straight free square right there.
All right, so defense. Do we want to go? Cardinals are cheap over here.
Cardinals, Bucks. Still just like the Jags though. If we're able to.
Yeah, honestly, let's just go Jags. That leaves us with a nice 69-60 for the rest of the position plays.
Okay, I mean let's lock in Hopkins. I feel like we kind of have to, especially to backstack against Hogan.
I agree, and honestly, like Kareem Hunt is not expensive over here.
Yeah, he's ridiculously cheap. I think you can lock him in.
And that's still, geez, we have a lot of money left. Okay.
Yeah, I mean we're able to get a guy like Mike Wallace was super cheap, and then we could pay up heavily on wide receiver and other flex.
Oh, yeah, I like that. I'm liking this. So let's do, like – oh, no, that's too much.
Yeah.
What if we went –
but like maybe one of those like mid-range guys that we were talking about, like Jarvis. Jarvis over here on a full PPR site.
Jarvis and then, go flex at 7,600. Devonta Freeman's nice.
Does it allow us to get Fournette? No, not Fournette. Well, we could go Fournette and then maybe go down on Jags a little bit. Because Fournette is.
Or we can go. Hold on, 52 over here. Thielen.
Ooh, Deshaun.
What if we went Deshaun here, and then see what we can get?
See if we can upgrade or maybe upgrade Zach Miller.
Oh yeah, okay.
You still can't get to that like Ingram Kittle range, can you? That's why Zach Miller makes so much sense to me.
Ingram's on this slate, but Kittle.
Oh yeah.
Where's Kittle?
Kittle was right there. He was 34.
Oh yeah, we are 100 short of Kittle.
Always come down on the Jags, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that.
I mean, let me look at this. I mean, I don't mind leaving 400 on the table with this lineup. The person I would
I mean, or we could, what we could really do is we could flex instead of Fournette, we could flex a guy like Mark Ingram, who's also super duper cheap, and then pay up again at wide receiver and really get everyone we really want. I think Mark Ingram's under 5K.
Oh.
Yeah, that's super cheap over there too.
And Julio?
Oh,
that's nice. I'm all over that.
That might be the move right there.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
You got Hunt, Julio, DeAndre in one line.
Yeah, that's fire. That's fire.
Yeah, might have to deposit into DraftKings this week.
Dude, that might be a milli maker.
It might be the Millie Maker.
That might be the one. What if it is, man, and you don't play it?
All right, now I'm gonna have to go play it. All right. So that's about all we've got for today. I think, in my opinion, I like the positional breakdown better than game by game.
Yeah, no, I definitely do too. I think it's I guess it allows us like prepare a little differently, and I don't know, it's just easier to speak on, I feel like.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, if you guys obviously will be around on Twitter until lock with some questions. We're gonna work on our personal lineups. DM us, add us on Twitter with questions. DFS.
Yeah, and guys, let us know. Like for anyone who's been in the stream prior, obviously, hopefully we Nova will be back next week. He wasn't able to join this week, but yeah, let us know what format you guys like better. Like, do you like the game by game, or do you like the position by position?
Yeah, that's. I'm actually gonna put a poll up on Twitter, and we can go from there.
That sounds like a good idea.
So I think we're pretty set for this week. Let's go make some money.
Yeah, guys, I'm gonna go work on getting Hogan out of my cash lineup because my gut's telling me otherwise.
All right, let's do it. See you guys.
All right.